Yay!
Okay. Now, we actually met Maz, for those of you who are watching the second time around. You might remember that we interviewed Maz last year for our business summit, but we met her through Kirsty originally.
Yeah, I think I reached out just wanting to connect and understand more about Creatrix and what you did, and, you know, looking at the way that you help a lot of people. And, you know, I met Melinda, and so it was awesome to speak to you last time, and we know that your story is really going to resonate, particularly the success and the image of what people think success is, and the reality of what it often is as well. So we're really excited to have you share, you know, what it is that you do and what your journey's been.
So I guess before we get started on the hardcore questions about what does success actually mean, let's hear a little bit about Creatrix and your business, because it's interesting. I think a lot of people will be really interested to know about this.
Yeah, well, Creatrix is it's a mental health solution, but it's also a personal development solution for people that have any kind of mindset blocks, as well as heart set blocks. In other words, you know, like they're carrying pains from past generations, or they're noticing a pattern that continues. So this is about breaking the cycle by learning the resources that you needed to learn to be able to handle those old emotional triggers in a more highly intelligent way, so they don't kind of disrupt you anymore. You see it through different eyes. It's actually, the truth of it is that it's actually a wake-up call. And you see them in nature where, you know, some guy wakes up and he is in hospital and he's told, oh, you just had a heart attack, and he says the world went silent. I could just see their mouths all moving. But I myself, you know, the world went silent, time stood still. And that's the other thing that they say. And then, you know, they might be 50 years old, they're overweight, they've got diabetes, they've never been able to lose weight. But now, because of that one wake-up call that is an inside-out PTSD, really, trigger moment, he, in 2 years' time, is running marathons, winning them for his age group, and has written a cookbook and is now teaching other people how to do the same thing. But what he doesn't know is that he's teaching them what he did, he doesn't realize what really did happen in the eye of the wake-up call. And Creatrix is an on-purpose eye of a wake-up call, where you get kind of a new perception on reality to do with whatever that issue is. So he might still have problems with relationships or something, but he doesn't have a problem in this area anymore. And in actual fact, he's broken the entire generational cycle because of the shock. So there has to be a shock, there has to be time standstill, and there has to be that silence of the world, and you don't see through your filters. Yes. And me, myself, having my own wake-up call when I developed epilepsy, when I was fleeing for the second time in a phone box, that was mine. And for a long time, I taught what I did, thinking that was going to help other people turn their life around like I had. Yeah. But it was many, many, many years later that I was able to kind of create Creatrix. So I had done a million other things. I knew so many modalities, it was ridiculous, off the Richter scale, in the way of like how many can one person learn in a lifetime. But they weren't cutting it. They just were not cutting it. And, you know, they weren't breaking cycles. They might get you to let go of the emotion, but it would eventually regenerate within 18 months. I was really researching results and outcomes, because that's what, you know, I wanted to break the cycle. So that's when I realized, oh my gosh, through innovating a solution that would cut through, I realized in hindsight, I had created a wake-up call.
Yeah, you created what people...
And I was like, wow, now I kind of get, how can somebody who dropped out of school at 14 to be a checkout chick, and then supposedly all I had to do was, you know, get married, and then my mother wouldn't have to worry about me anymore, because I would be, you know,
off her hands.
Off her hands. Yeah, God bless my mummy. But, you know, that was as big as they thought. They didn't think any bigger than that, my mother and where we come from. Like, that's the goal of having a daughter, is to get them married, and that's it, you know. Yeah. But, really interesting that I had broken the intergenerational cycle. You know, I knew I had like when I developed epilepsy in that phone box, I just remember opening my eyes and the world was silent and time stood still. And I remember just looking, you know, because I'd pulled up to ring my mum, and because I was in an old bomby car, fleeing, moving into what they call emergency housing, and it was the last chance. After 6 protection orders, it was the last chance, and the cycle was so ingrained in us, like, to believe we were victims, the women, and that that's what we were worth, is just, and men were dominant and men could get away with everything and men ruled, and, you know, all of that. And yeah, I broke that cycle there and then. But when I opened my eyes and just saw the kids jumping around in the car, and what happened was I did gain in that moment the resources that would push me through where other people wouldn't have pushed through. Like, it was like, you know, you have to do this, and you can do this. But first of all, I had to see the reflection back at me of the sum total of the choices that I made in my life. So I can say, you know, a lot of people say, but if you're a child and you had sexual abuse, how is that kind of your fault? But it's not that realization. It's the realization that you just, wow, if nothing really does change and you're the only one who can make a change here, then this pattern will continue, like it or not. It's kind of like that. And then in my research of trying to help other people, because that's what I wanted to do, my passion is breaking intergenerational patterning. So our grandchildren don't have to be predispositioned to have a predestined life, attracting, or however it works, you know, however it does work. You do cycles run by creating a reality to make that cycle be maintained.
Yeah.
And in my research, it was epigenetics, the science of epigenetics, that showed me, wow, until the resources are gained, that pattern will run. And, you know, so yeah, my wake-up call moment, I gained those resources to be strong enough when all hell broke loose, and when I was once again in the fetal position on the kitchen floor, you know, going, you know, can life get any worse? So it did get worse before it got better, but I had this thing, this new thing from that wake-up call, and it was new meanings applied to old things, you know. So all of reality changed in perception. It's like the axis of how the world is, it just sort of altered.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, it was a new perception.
So you've almost touched on one of our questions we were going to come up to about a defining moment that kind of changed the trajectory of your life. In a nutshell, can you tell everybody what you've actually achieved, what your business, you know, really quickly, what you have managed to create? That
there's two defining moments. That is one of them, and that's the one that turned my life just totally around on a dime. And a lot of those resources are in that little course I'll give, you know. But that one there allowed me to go on and create millions of dollars for myself and help many, many women and become a leader, and the leadership, the kind of perception that's required to be able to step up and be a leader. All of that happened in my first wake-up call, but there was a second one. And this is the one that I very rarely tell. And it's the one that took me from recognizing that solutions out there are all kind of conscious or totally unconscious. There's nothing conscious and unconscious to make a person really be able to action what we teach them. You know, we teach them stuff. We teach them great stuff. We can teach them what we do, but it doesn't mean they're going to go on and do it.
Yeah.
So my awakening to that was a decade after the first one, and I was sitting on a ship sailing the Rhine River, and look, I had taken 26 overseas trips in the previous 14 years, all paid for me, and look, it was indirect selling, and I was number one in 10 countries. I broke all the Australian records of 43 years, and I still hold them today. by 25%. No one, still to this day, no one's come close. And, you know, what happened, what I actually did was not listen to anybody. I didn't do the old goal setting model. I didn't plan my work and work my plan. I was the most inconsistent person you knew. I even thought I was really quite lazy. So it was really hard because they told me in that company, you're privileged now to be at this level, to be able to teach all of the leaders in the company. Lucky duck.
Yes.
But they told me what I had to teach. And they said, you've got to teach. No. And I kind of had this knowing at that point that I was responsible for 10,000 women a year to train them. Why was not one even close?
Yeah.
Why not one even close? Why was it still the same 6 people on the trip? Like, seriously, all of us were good. All of us were teaching what we did. Because we've attached so much to taking action now that it's become the action world, not necessarily the goal setting world, but now it's all about action. Take action, action, action.
Yeah.
But action coming from this perception does not create the same outcome.
No.
Whereas I'm outcome focused. That's it. Outcome, work back. And anyway, what happened was we were on this ship, all 6 of us, and I was really tired of losing top directors, teaching them what I did and being forced to teach what I wasn't even doing. And to the point where I actually sent one of my top leaders who quit after 3 years of struggle a bunch of flowers. And I said, you know, I truly believe in my heart this is best for you, is to leave. Because all she was doing was pounding on weight. She was feeling even more like a failure. Her life was, I could see it was a struggle and I couldn't stand it. And I thought, I didn't get into this for this. I got into this to empower women. Yeah. This was shitting me off that, why just 6 of us? Why? And anyway, we're sitting there and we're sipping Moe and we're sailing the Rhine River and we're going past the beautiful French castles, you know, and you're sipping the wine that was made from these beautiful vineyards. We're going past and, you know what, and we're sitting there and our feet are up watching the sunset by the pool. And I just turned around to the other ladies and I said, girls, why is it just us? Think about it. Why are we so? And they're like, Maz, just have another Moe. Enjoy your accolades. Like, you earn this. Just enjoy it. I said, hang on a second.
Yeah.
Really? Been here, done this now. This is really good. But something in my heart is telling me something's wrong. Really, really wrong with the systems we're running, what we're doing. As leaders, we need to find the solution here. I'm not happy with the amount that go out the back door, feeling more like a failure. I'm not happy. I'm not content. And at that moment, I walked down and I went back into my cabin. And they stayed up there partying and they thought I was a real party people. But from that moment, I went into research mode, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for 6 years, pretty much. You know, everyone else is doing everything. And Maz is a total party pooper. I would sleep on the couch, roll out of bed, research, get back on the couch. You know, a lot of people were concerned about my health, but what I was doing was I'm going, no, I am finding the solution. And that's when I learned these modalities and I did these courses and I traveled and I just did whatever it took. How does this damn brain work? What is happening? And when I went to all of these, because I'm not indoctrinated into academia like psychology, one of the first things they're told is you can never fix someone, you've just got to work with, you know, their choices that they're currently making and whatever that takes, which is usually only medication because they're going to have to numb it down, right? Or coping techniques, which coping causes suppressed emotions to erupt later and causes a nervous breakdown. That's my theory anyway. I've got many theories.
Yeah.
But many hypotheses, but all I'm doing is I'm out there proving. I've just released a video where I'm interviewing psychologists and all of them and their opinion of creatrix, and they back me up on it now. But
awesome.
Yeah, so that research led me to joining some docs that have never been linked, girls. Think about this. Epigenetics is proven in cows that what they do is they feed the cow a favourite food, and they electrocute them at the time so that fear gets attached to this favourite food. 14 generations, the mere smell or sight of that food still triggers a traumatic internal, emotional, mental
response.
Yeah.
Major response in the body felt by the cells. And so the DNA memory, so epigenetics is just evidence now that we've got the same number of cells as a plant, but what makes us different is how genes, is how each gene expresses itself. And it's got like hundreds of thousands of choices on how it expresses. And to run the pattern of a negative expression, which is only shown by a negative response, emotionally or mentally, I was like, wow, hang on a second. So the fear of rejection on a telephone for a woman in business, it's not the fear of rejection of the person about the business. It's the fear of the trigger way back throughout the past generations of fear attached to rejection.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's probably the worst rejection a person could even imagine. So it could be the rejection of love by an own parent.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And then my study of history and my study of science go back far enough. There's even a Holocaust of the woman. 9 million women were killed that not taught in schools. 9 million women in over a 300-year time period. That's a Holocaust by definition.
Yeah.
And the only thing they're taught in schools is about 50,000. It's actually a lie, and it's really, really interesting stuff. And then I discovered hormones and all of this. I was like, wow, I brought it together and I was like, wow, this is why, energy healing is great, but it misses the resources. So eventually the energy has to according to the science of epigenetics, it will have to regenerate. And it's the same with conscious mind processes are missing, installing the resources at the center of the brain where the instinctual brain is about that trigger. Occurring. So any personal development program that does not go to the trigger and give that trigger, that first person in that ancestral line, that trigger, that thing, if they don't get their resources, it won't ripple out. And it's really, really interesting. So I developed a process according to an original hypothesis. So I'm the original innovator of this process, and Creatrix is the name of the women's one, but the men's one, Innovatrix, is the exact same process. It's just got different metaphors. Because the metaphors are of the body.
I find this so interesting talking to you, Maz, because I know that a lot of people are going to resonate with your story because they had either not had tertiary education, or they've dropped out of school early, or they're feeling like they have, like a lot of people in our community
have a fear of failure,
particularly
everything,
but also they're aware of the fact that ancestral lineage does play a part in their own behaviour. So I know a lot of people will be on board with this, but what I love is the fact that you've really actually redefined what success looks like for people.
Yeah.
So even in your own life, you can see it. Like, we can see watching you and knowing you that, your definition of success growing up in a household where maybe it was expected that you were not going to achieve for yourself because of conditioning and the environment, people just didn't see that was a possibility for you guys. Now, fast forward, you've completely flipped that on its head. So I'm really interested to know, like, for you as a woman in business, what does success look and feel like to you now compared to maybe what you thought you were even capable of years ago?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Okay. So success to me now is flexibility and choice and opportunity. So those three things are what I'm about building now. So what I was going to say before too was that second wake-up call actually led me to a whole new level. So here I was. I had got my my success to this level. But what was going to take me from there to there was going to take other people from here to here. And that's my dream. And it's kind of, I'm very layman. And that's because I dropped out of school in grade 10 and wagged half of that.
Yeah.
I can access common sense, and women don't realise what you've achieved academically. It means nothing. It's a different sort of intelligence, and it's not the intelligence of the times.
Yeah.
The intelligence to be flexible and move with systems and with social media, and it's all about this is for men and women, and because I help men and women now, and that is, to be able to access your gut and run your life by your gut. That's freedom, and you can do that with any level of wealth. You can do that with where you come from, what you know academically. It's all irrelevant. It's true freedom has nothing to do. Look, I would say money definitely buys me more choice, but at the same time, it's to achieve a certain feeling. We only ever do anything in life to achieve a feeling.
Yeah.
Right?
So early on, the money is imperative, but you do get beyond that to where, like even back then when you're on those cruises and, you had money. Like the money was...
I walked away from $27,000 a month.
Yeah.
With no guarantee that I could do anything outside of that business. But what I have done now, I used to call it the female success model. Now I'm actually thinking it is the success model, because the men that I train now, I'm realizing, wow, they're very similar. It's just that they've bought into the old way. And that is running your life from your gut. Your gut brain is your most oldest. That's why it's the smallest. At the top of your spine is this really small brain, and that's your instinctual brain. And then there's this other one that developed later in time, and that's your emotional brain. And women's is much bigger than men's, and that's because we had to bond with the baby and blah, blah, blah. And then there's this third brain, the thinking brain, right? Now, the reason I think it was such a small brain on the top of the spinal stem is that it's biggest down below in the stomach. Wow. And we just forget, like, we do have cues, and it's getting back in touch with that, and that takes self-trust and faith. And we've got to get people, when you run on that, and you can then, you get the good feelings from not buying into this bullshit up here, this head, this thing, this thinking brain. We've given it too much credit. That's the one that goes to school, girls. And men, women, whoever's watching this, we're all giving this brain, and a lot of personal development programs are only for the brain. It's about planning a working a plan, very compartmentalized areas of life. That's a male brain, number one, mostly, that can do that. Women will always struggle within that framework, even more so than a man if there's compartments. If they say compartmentalized, good luck, girls. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. But guess what? You've got a gut. It's even better. It's even better. And if everything's chaotic, but we can get you peace in your gut, the chaos doesn't cause you an outcome of a negative feeling. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, that's life. Like this morning, I lost power in the office just before this call. And I'm like, how can this work? What's wrong with this device? And I'm like, what's wrong with this other device? And then I'm like, duh. The light's not on the power switches, and, that. And then, like I shared with you girls, my own issue of having to flee out of town during mid-course, all that chaos. It still doesn't stop me feeling internally. I feel whole, complete. I don't judge myself. I feel like, this is my life and I can deal with it.
That is freedom.
That's freedom.
Because, when you think back, like when you look at women in business that are starting out, and it is about the money, because for whatever reason,
you have to
be earning enough money to be able to do that rather than go back to a job. Yeah. And the reason they need that is because when they're low on money or they have bills, they have a horrible feeling in their tummy, right? They have an anxiety. They have their heart rate.
That pushes money away from you. So that actually repels the money. So you can't go, like, this is my question, how's it working for you right now? Because that, my friends, is the problem. So you obviously, all the worry about making money, I don't think about money.
No.
And people who make a lot of money, they don't think about money. But people who have no money think about money all day long.
Yes.
So we need to, first of all, break the pattern of thinking about money, which means releasing the fear. Yeah. Because the fear is triggering the thinking about money. So when you don't worry about it anymore, even though you've got none, you mightn't be able to eat next week, but the worrying about it is repelling the very thing you most want. And
focus on expands.
Yeah.
Focus on that. Your lack of it will expand. But if you work on your happiness and getting rid of that anxiety and that, have happiness and joy in your life.
So I've got a question that I just want to throw out here that kind of, we didn't warn you about this one, Maz, but I am interested to know. So obviously we know that you are financially successful in your business and you don't shy away from telling people that because you're inspiring to many. So what I think a lot of people would like to know is, what does your week look like? A successful week for you, because you're not focusing on money, you're not focusing on hustling, you've got the ability to basically go out and do whatever you want when a crisis hits. And that's not by accident, that's a life by design. It's a business that you have created that fits your lifestyle. Yeah. So if we could get behind the scenes in what a day or a week looks like for you, what would we find?
Yeah.
Right, you will find, externally looking in, you would go chaos. That's, absolutely, you would go chaos. How does she do it? And well, mostly I hire people to do it. I also own up to my weaknesses, and I did long ago. I've never been one of those people that has to, you've got to learn marketing, like it or not. I'm like, you know what? Crap. I'm going to, but before I hire that person, I do say to them, you have to make me the money to pay you, because I don't have the money to pay you. So I'm not going to take money out of my bank account to pay you. You have to make me the money to pay you with some left over, and then you'll have a job. So I kind of, just go to the basics of that. But my week at this level, though, I have bought myself the luxury of this, but it, how to explain it really is, I sleep when I'm tired. I eat when I'm hungry. So that they are two things that people would think, what's that got to do with business? It's got to do with trusting my body and trusting flow and trusting my gut. And if my biggest epiphanies to do with business have come from setting myself up to be able to run my life like that and to get to the point where I trust myself. And that's the hardest thing. Most women struggling in business have very, very low self-trust. And you got to get to a point where you just trust yourself and you can trust your gut. The reason they don't is because when they think they've got a negative outcome. But that's because of and it's also inherited suppression. For women in particular, we've actually inherited it whether we like it or not, and how it shows up in a person is this not good enough thing, and that feeds into our self-doubt, eats away at our self-trust, and we've lost it. And to get that, I think that's the first thing you got to do, work on your self-trust, work on having faith in you, not the you that you think you are, but the you that is the real you, which is a person who, not even a person, a soul, because you can float outside of your body and touch yourself on your head and see yourself. Which one are you? You're not the you that you think you are sitting on the chair in your office, right? There's another you that can tap yourself on the back of the head and see down on your head. So the real you is the spirit of you that's been stifled throughout conditioning, epigenetics, nature, nurture, whatever. It's all not you. You are this whole complete being that is here, that is just as deserving as anyone else. There's no intelligence rating scale. It's all bullshit. It's all man-made. There's none of that. Even if you're illiterate, when I've had creative clients that are totally illiterate, I have watched them do their best work after that. Like, I have seen an artist, for example, who lost her creativity, totally whip out the best art. She was totally illiterate, but she was very wealthy from her art. And this is what people don't understand, that it's, and what are artists? They're intuitive.
Yes.
All right? They're very, very intuitive. We are intuitive, and we are all creative beings. But the more you trust your head and think, that thinking you do, that thinking is bullshit. Not one of those words in your head are you. Not one. So my day is chaos. I wake up. I make sure on the camera all you see is the pretty organised stuff. But let me get the camera for a sec. I'll show you chaos. Like, it's all chaos. You know, it's a pretty house though. You know, I've got all the pretties, but the truth is I got 2 wings and 6 bathrooms, but I only live in just the kitchen, the tiny little lounge, and I sleep on the couch more than I sleep in my bed because it's just not convenient. I don't want to go up those bloody stairs and up there and have to make my bed. Like, you know, I'm like, you know, it's, you know, I'm willing to own it that it's not
but it's
what it looks like.
I mean, I think this is part of the whole point, isn't it,
Yeah.
of the series, is the fact that, you know, what suited you and meant that you were now successful 20 years ago and 10 years ago and now is all different. But right now, you know, it's almost like you've kind of, from a monetary perspective, got everything, and you don't actually need everything anyway, because
it's all around me. It's all around me. It's all around me. Yes, I can have whatever I want. Pretty much I can, right? And that's all well and good. Yes, money. I achieved where I was earning, you know, 6 figures. Now I'm the 7 figures annually, you know, into the 7 figures. That's nice. But, and that does buy me a lot of choice in that. But all that does is add more to the self-faith. You know, somebody says, but Maz, what's your goals? I'm like, why do you ask that question? Because the question's not a question for me. No. I don't work on that system. I work on a different system. I work on a system of, if I set goals, I would restrict myself. Like, I didn't do the impossible by doing it as a goal because that was unrealistic. So it bypassed the very first step in a goal-setting formula. You know, be realistic. It's like, there was no realisticness. Even in mathematically, it couldn't happen what I did that year when I broke the records there. But what I've done here, I have done something. You know, everybody was trying to put the fear into me. Maz, you waste your money. And I did. I tell you what, I could make money, but I had not cracked the formula for keeping money. $27,000 a month. I'm going to share a big secret. I was broke at the end of the month, every month, because I had this fear of, because I stole from my dad when I was in high school. So I would have to get rid of the money. So I had fear attached to having money.
Yeah.
So I could earn it, but I would lose it really quick because of a fear attached to what money means. And, you know, now all of that's gone. And you know, but you can't fix or address something you're not aware of. You know what I mean? So that's why there'll always be layers to work on. You know, that's just how stuff happens. Things don't come up till you need to get them. But what I'm leading to is everyone's been trying to put this fear into me of late because of my age and retirement. They're like, well, Maz, what are you going to do? You haven't been keeping money. What are you going to do, you know, about your future? I'm like, what freaking future? Future is now. And you know, it's just many, many now moments, isn't it? And I'm living my bloody dream. I've been living what retirement people would think was really great. I've been living that now for 5 years. And it's, you know, I've already got the same choices. But what's really interesting is by letting go of the fear and not allowing them to get inside me, I have actually created a system now where I'll be paid forever without doing anything. And I created that for myself on a licensing program. And it's going to grow. I don't need to. And everyone's like, where are you investing? Where? I was like, I'm investing in fucking people, and I'm investing in my tool, and I'm investing in myself, and I have invested so much now that I've created my own formula. All of you who have the formula for future retirement success, you better put some money in that bucket and that bucket, because what if this happens and this happens? I'm like, yeah, but as long as I'm alive, I've got this baby, this is a creating machine. I can create shit. I'm like, I can I'm in control. This is my universe. This is my reality. This is my power, and you can't take it from me because it's mine, and you don't have it.
That's so good.
Do you know what I love as well? The fact that people who innovate, and we had this conversation with you last year where you said to us, actually, you know, I am used to the way that people react to me about my business. So I just want to let you know that no matter what happens, because sometimes it can be negative, sometimes it can be positive based on people's own feelings that they have about various modalities. I love the fact that what that made me remember about you to begin with was the fact that innovators really at the forefront, like the thought leaders that are at the forefront of ideas and processes and, you know, creations, they have
They're
to
a bit crazy.
they have to believe.
Yeah, I am crazy. I am absolutely crazy, and I fly in the face of many people, many systems, and I don't really care, and I really am ready. But one of my awards up there is for innovation. And look, most, and I'm not saying I've got the greatest process ever developed in the world, because what if someone created it long ago? But I'll tell you this, they never launched it to the degree where I'm going to get this to because of this. You've got to be able to take the hate mail, the haters, and stuff them. They got their own issues. It's not got to do with me. Your perception of me is not my problem.
I was going to say, and I knew that's where Quartz is going, and it's so true.
Well, look, I'll tell you now, most of my haters come from other modalities who swear by theirs, but they haven't done the research I've done. They haven't linked the dots. They haven't noticed 18 months down the track. My target market is people that are at a point, they've been in the industry for at least 5 years. They now know that nothing's really sticking and breaking the intergenerational cycles. When they're at that point, they know. They know. They come to me then and they're like, hang on a minute. Even people are eating their words later. They're coming back to me and going, wow, that's actually really amazing what you're doing. I think I do want to have a little peek. So, but if it's like at the moment, we're just about to release this video, right? So if you hang around on the Institute of Women Facebook page, you'll see it. We're releasing it only in the next week. And it's psychologists, CBT professionals, EMDR, faster EFT, master NLPs. We've got a woman that runs a massive allied health centre where she hires them all inside of her centre. She's used a psychologist. She's tried the whole works and nothing. I mean, we even released her husband's a chiropractor and he's coming to do the Innovatrix course now. And people in the industry who were my haters are now finally going, wow, we didn't know that we didn't know what we didn't know.
That's right.
And now, and because, the end user's experience is just a silly little story. They don't know that every metaphor is so intricately designed to blend to the next metaphor, So the great thing is the more people from the industry who come into the course to be a transformologist, they get that insight and they go, holy shit, how did you come up with that? Like, that is crazy off the charts. That is just, I don't know how I tell you how I didn't come up with it. I didn't come up with it by goal setting. I didn't come up with it by being consistent. And I came up with it by a 3 o'clock epiphany, by trusting myself, by not stressing about the answer coming. It is only when you put everything down and you can go into a peaceful state that information then comes through. It's like you invited it by your research, you invited it by your intention to solve the problem. Someone said to me, because I declared great things this year, I've said to everybody, I don't know how this is happening, but it's happening. And they're like, yeah, but how, Maz? Like, you just, this is a little bit weird that you're saying you're going to do all this. And I'm like, yeah, but you're asking the wrong questions, darling. I don't even ask that question. I never go how. I am not a how person. How stuff happens, I don't know. I just know it will. And it's the knowing something will that causes the entire mind to go quiet so that those epiphanies drop in.
Yeah.
It's being able to open yourself.
I say this all the time, like, whenever I go on a holiday and totally put down tools, that's when my creativity comes. Yeah. That's when my inspiration comes. And I think one of the biggest takeaways everybody has to take from this is sit in silence and open up and listen to your intuition, listen to your gut.
And how many times have we talked about the fact that, we set like we look at what we want for ourselves in our lives individually, but also for Smart Chicks, obviously. And, we have conversations about this, but how would that happen? But what do
and we're like, we don't know,
and
we'll
then
just do this.
We just decided one day that
we just do it.
Our rule is, does it feel heavy or light? And if it feels light, then we
do
decide that we're going to do it.
Girls, look, your success formula, even whether you know it or not, it's not what you do, and it's not the how. And I don't know a single highly successful woman. She might be teaching the how, but she ain't doing that. She is just a woman operating on what feels like the thing to do at the time, and she trusts that, and that's the difference. And I'm not sure yet if it's the success formula or whether it's the female success formula, because a lot of these guys I'm now working with who now are Innovatrix transformologists, a lot of them are coming away from trusting their head too. A lot of them, and they're like one of them, Martin, I was talking to him last night, he's like, I don't know, it's just happening. I don't know where they're coming from as this is happening, because now I'm free of all my baggage. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Because fear attracts more things to have to fear. Drop the fear. And I'm not a believer in there's fear or love. I'm a believer in there's fear or nature and just running in a calm state. You don't have to have love. You can have what Deepak Chopra says is the definition of peace, which is nothing in your bloody head. And it's nothing. And the nothingness is more valuable than all the thinking on the planet.
Yes.
Oh, now I know that there's going to be people chasing us down, trying to get in touch with you after this. So tell us, what is the best way for people to get in contact with you? And we do have a gift for everyone, don't we, that you're going to email out to them, and they can also just... I'm going
to give them a course. I'll give them a course. It's 8 modules. It's called Turn Your Life Around in 8 Hours or Less. It's all of the basic principles of what I teach, just the beautiful foundation that if you launch anything from that place, then everything else becomes more valuable that you do. It's all about getting the foundation nice and solid. So I'll give them that. That's a one-day program I used to do where people had to pay $247 and come to me to actually get that. And I will give that to your viewers.
Maybe you can put the link in for this video that you're releasing, because
I will. I'll put the link that takes them directly to that. They can then get to know and see more from there. The other thing is the best way to get in touch with me is maz@globaltransformatrix.com. Even though I run the Institute of Women International, that's a really big company at the moment, running out of 7 countries, but it's Global Transformatrix. I've had to up-brand because of the men. Introducing transformology now, which is more of why Creatrix works, which means there'll be more tools coming. Creatrix is beautiful for cleaning out the past and bringing you to now, but there's a new tool I've just innovating that will take you into your future self right now. So it will speed up your success. It will put you there now. Like, it's off the charts. Like, we're all going, can this be true? But yes, it's working on the people. It's not long lasting though. You need to have the process every month. So it's a bit different because it's the future. Yeah. Whereas the Creatrix is playing in the past. But yeah, that's how they can get in contact. They can go to globaltransformatrix.com for the bigger picture, the white papers, the scientific evidence. But if they're a woman, they'll probably really resonate with instituteofwomen.com as well. And my not-for-profit launching it is already through, has jumped all the hoops already, and that's riseaboveit.org.au. And that is where I'm releasing a little book for Are You OK Day that says, no, I'm not okay, now what? Beautiful little guide handbook to help people when they're really down and out. They're not ready for anything else because they're really struggling. And that's going to be their little life-saving handbook that can help them do, the system out there is not really sound. And this gives them something to help them take account of what they can do for themselves. So that's coming, that will be launching this year in time for Are You OK Day. So that's everything I've got going at the moment.
Thank you so much. I know I think everyone is just going to be so light, I think is the word, after listening to this. I just felt like there are about 10 golden nuggets in there. Every
I
time
know.
I speak to you guys, you know, I never
Amazing.
know what you're going to talk about because we never
It's because I'm not organised. You know, I'm the most unorganised person on the planet, but if you allow me, you will get gold from me. But if you try to control this thing doesn't work like most people do.
I know we are over time, but I do want to ask one last thing. See if you can put it into a sentence. From a legacy perspective, when the day comes that you're at the end of your life or maybe you've gone, what do you want to be known for?
Breaking intergenerational cycles and having people stand in their true power and be self-actualized.
Oh, I just got goosebumps when you said that. Oh, we're going to leave
Thank you so much, Maz.
We'll leave you guys to just ponder that question or that statement, I guess.
Yeah, and look out for that email because I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from the course.
Right. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you, girls.
Thank you.